everybody. You're listening to and possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz,
I'm Steve Morey.
And I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
and we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in. And we are with you as Decem-bears.
Grr.
Arr.
Coming up with Decem-bears was my that was the one good thing I did today.
That was his idea.
Yes, Dolly Parton and Rob Halford's love child.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's kind of on the money. It really is. It really is. And Steve, thank you for providing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction for me.
No problem.
I ended up watching like every second of it.
I did too. I
Yeah,
absolutely
really?
did.
It was a fair, and this is from somebody who's been to two of them. It was, I think it was one of the best induction shows. I
Oh.
really do. It just seemed like one of the more celebratory ones.
Well, I think it was twofold, right? So I think it was
Yeah.
people were fine. Like this is the first year they finally got to get back together and really do stuff and have a big shindig. People are finally touring again, but they had some really great folks that they were inducting. Like there was a really it was a happy atmosphere. I mean, if you think to some of them in the past, I mean, like the last one that I really cared about was the Guns N' Roses one, right? So and you watch that one, it's like, okay, this isn't really all of GNR, and they're like there's strings attached, and you can just kind of feel it.
Yeah.
So, but this one, it was just celebratory all around. Like everybody was happy to be there.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I mean, for the ones that I went to, Nirvana. The first one was Nirvana, Peter Gabriel, Kiss, the E Street Band, which took forever.
Did they?
Oh my God! It was like an hour long between like with their acceptances and the performance. I was crazy. Cat Stevens. I'm forgetting people. And then the second one I went to was The Cure, Def Leppard, The Zombies, Roxy Music,
Wow.
Stevie Nicks, Radiohead, Janet Jackson, and I know I'm forgetting people, but yeah, I went to both of them in Brooklyn. I was not able to get tickets for the Brooklyn induction ceremony when ELO, I forget who else was in, but there was one year that it played Brooklyn. I wasn't able to get tickets for, but the other two I was.
I want to
Well,
go someday. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to attend that. Like that's.
Yeah. I do like that, after because they used to be like in the Waldorf Astoria and it was invite only. I do like that they allow some ticket sales for events like this. Yeah.
Well, it's like a massive.
I do recommend it if you ever have
concert.
the opportunity. I definitely do recommend it.
Yeah. David Toby's joining us.
there's David
Hey, boys.
Toby.
Hey,
Hello.
David.
And we made it through Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Gobble gobble.
Yeah.
Jump on the McLaughlin group. The discussion we had last week. I also went through.
Was so nice.
I also went through my 3 concerts in 3 nights.
Yeah, how was that?
Yeah, it was great. Suede have not toured here. They did like a Coachella, but they've not toured in the States since 1997. And Manic Street Preachers, they were in this is my new Manic Street Preachers t-shirt.
Nice.
The tour dates are on the back.
The Preachers.
Yeah. No, the Manics. That's the
Streets. No, that's another band altogether.
That's another act over there. It was a great show. The Philly show was great. Brooklyn show was great. In between the two of them, I went to see The Smile, which is an offshoot band of Radiohead with Tom and Johnny and a jazz drummer. And it's just like my feet were fucking killing me after the end of that.
Did any of them have were any of them seated or
were they all seated?
Room?
We were all seated. They had pits for Mannix and Suede, and the floor for The Smile was general admission. But Tom, my straight concert husband, and I were smart, so we get seats. But even then, you're standing up, and my feet were killing me. Oh my!
You're standing up, you're sitting down, you're kneeling. It's just like church.
It's rough. In fact, there was they announced a tour of the Charlatans and Ride together, but the only venues that are local they're playing are standing venues. So I was like, I'd love to see you, but I just can't do it anymore.
at least as far as like bigger venues go, like
Mhm.
I don't know if it's just like a byproduct of like, passing like 25, but I enjoy seated like being in the back, not the all the way back, but like being in the seats more than I
Yeah.
enjoyed
Oh,
the
yeah.
last couple
Mhm.
times I was on the floor. Like you
Yeah,
get to see more of the band.
yeah,
And like,
absolutely,
yeah, like I enjoyed
absolutely.
that. So I mean, and
Yeah,
look, my early 20s, like I was a pit kid, right? So like that was,
Yeah.
you'd find me in the mosh pit. I mean, I'm wearing a fucking
yeah.
what I'm
That's my
wearing. So
that's my 30s. I was a big kid.
yeah, I mean, but now I'm just like, well, I mean, I've been in a few pits, like
Yeah,
I haven't been to a metal concert in a little bit, but the last time I was there, I got in the pit. But still, I'm just like, you don't get to see much of the show. You have a
yeah.
very limited view. So getting up in the seats where you can get a bird's eye view, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Same with
limited view,
Vegas.
and then also you've got people,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like you're crammed in with all these people. Now, when you're seated, depending on how the seats are arranged, I mean, you might also be crammed in with a ton of people where you're like, I can't see over you, or your elbow is in my face. Thank you,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like it's at least then you can rest your feet. If you're stuck in the pit or if you're on the floor, forget it. You're there.
Mhm.
You're
and
there for the entirety of the concert, and
no
nobody's
one
gonna see
dumps
you.
beer on you. You get to drink the beer
Yeah.
versus like I like drinking beer, so I don't want to wear it.
The most the most insane pit was Nirvana that I
Okay.
was at, and this was for
Mm.
it was a show. It was for In Utero, but In Utero had not come out yet. And
Oh.
when
Mm.
I saw the opener was the Jesus Lizard, and when I saw how crazy that was, I was like, "All right, we're gonna go like to the outskirts." It was just nuts. But then the most fun pit I was ever was also Nirvana later on in that tour. Um, the show at the New York Coliseum, which was a venue that wasn't used much, and
Mm.
Yeah.
so that there was something really cool. That was also like the next year was hell. There was a show at the New York Armory with Soundgarden, and it was about 102 inside. It was insane,
Blah.
and it was the night of the Bronco chase, the OJ Bronco chase, and
Oh god.
um, I stopped in to see my dad the next day, and he was like, "Oh, did you watch the Bronco chase?" Like, you don't know how much I wish I was watching the Bronco chase. I mean,
So it's a
like
toss up.
even Chris Cornell said he almost died that night.
Yeah.
That he could
Mm.
not get his heart rate down after. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy concert.
It
But we're not a concert podcast. We're a comic book podcast,
yet.
right?
Yet.
Yes. The-
I mean, there have been some dabbling
I
in concert podcasts
I'd love
for
to do a
stuff.
music podcast, but my attempts
Yeah.
have crashed and burned. So
I listened to your history of music.
I
So
know, and I'd still love to. I was planning to do that at 45 instead of 40, but it just didn't work out. I think I could do a show with as one of two, you know, but not solo. It's no fun. Maybe if you
I
were doing
it,
something like a narrative, like Ultra,
Right.
it would be okay to be by yourself. But it's lonely, lonely.
At the
uh
top.
Yeah.
this the new name here for those of you who are watching, obviously too bad for those of you who are listening, but Caleb just changed his name and forgot to put the Esquire on the end, which actually I think would be funny. Dolly Parton and Rob Halford's love child, Esquire.
Esquire. Right.
Okay, well, we each have some books to talk about, and we have, at least in my case, I have a shit ton of geekettes
Yeah.
because of Black Friday. So I'll go
Yes.
through them quick, but we got to go through them. It just feels like we have to. And Steve, I know there's one bit of news that's of some degree of importance that we probably should talk
Just
about.
just one bit of news, or one bit of development, I should say, in news that we've kind of talked about very briefly before. But James Gunn has been dropping a little bit more hints, having some more Twitter conversations. As far as Twitter is, not a complete and utter nuclear waste dump at this point yet, but it is getting there very very quickly. But he has been providing little hints here and there, and just the other day, kind of to emphasize the state of the planning, dropped a beautiful picture of Ross's was it the cover for Kingdom Come?
No, it's the boardroom plan in
The
issue
boardroom planning from Kingdom Come. I'm trying to think which issue
2.
it's from, but I
I think it's 2. Yeah, I think it's
two,
boardroom plan
yeah.
2.
Um, but it's very very well known Alex Ross image, but um, I think it got a lot of people really excited that they're going to be making Kingdom Come, but really it was just more of like we are hard at work providing you, the stories that we want and we know you want to see. And also the fact that he did confirm that it's going to be, a completely connected, 10-year long, I guess, overarching story, or at least connected, universe
Hmm.
where everything leads into another. There are exceptions, and he did confirm that there are going to be some stuff that's very much outside of continuity. So Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol and other shows like that, especially in the TV realm, are going to be, you know, doing their thing. But they are going to be working on making it a little bit more cohesive, and I guess basically kind of doing an equivalent, a 10-year plan equivalent of what Marvel had done
Mhm.
with Phase One, Phase Two,
Yeah.
Phase Three. So really excited there, and it got me thinking. And I know a lot of people are thinking like, well, what kind of crazy story would you like to see? What kind of storyline, whether it's a big crossover, or just a single character um, arc, would we like to see? And I know we don't have a lot of time, but for those of you who are listening or are watching, maybe you can throw some of your suggestions in. I mean, me personally, I would love to see Blackest Night. Um, I know it's really complex. I know that's like it's crazy pie in the sky, and there's probably no way they could do it unless they introduced a billion different people, including all of the core and just like also a whole bunch of other major characters that have yet to be introduced, as well as killed off subsequently. But I would just love to see something that epic and that fantastic that really touches on not just every character, but also a lot of those really important, powerful stories, and just kind of rips them apart and really forces you to like revisit a lot of the really darker moments of DC, in a very, I think a well done, massive crossover event. But yeah, again, pie in the sky probably never happened, but it's pretty cool to think about, and it'd be really great if they did lead up to that over the 10 years somewhere. But I don't know. What about you guys?
My answer right now is gonna surprise you. I've been rereading some of the war titles from the 60s and 70s, and I
Mm,
was really struck by how rich some of these characters are, like Frank Rock and Jeb Stewart from
mm.
The Haunted Tank and The Unknown Soldier and
Oh yeah.
Gravedigger from the 70s, the African American GI. And possibly as a starting point, like my pie in the sky is Justice Society. That's
Hmm.
and that might be a way in by
Hmm.
providing like something realistic that into to going into something fantastic. Will probably be something like JSA, but I was also just struck by how rich a lot of these a lot of the wartime characters were, and
Mm.
how fully developed they were. Far more than some heroes in the 60s. You read an issue of Justice League, and the up until Denny O'Neil starts writing, the dialogue's interchangeable.
Yeah.
Whatever comes
Yeah, it
out
could
of
be
Hawkman
anybody
is
saying that.
coming out of Flash. Yeah.
Yeah.
The solo titles were a little different, but yeah, I do think that's also somewhat endemic of a wider problem. So it would be like a dream. Like I have my pitch. I've like if I ever had a chance to pitch to DC, I have my pitch that does include World War II era characters. Um, but it's something along the line where it's almost like the war title Justice Society alignment somehow. Like maybe
Yeah.
also that's also kind of ideal to st- like a start of a narrative.
Mm.
That this
Yeah.
happened in the 40s and now the heroes are reemerging or something. But
Yeah.
also, they put on so much work into though it's had some pitfalls. Um, a lot of the developments are clearly DC Extended Universe. I just think they have to figure out how best to work what already exists there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So
understand. I understand the Flash is a bit of a it gives that ability to shake it up a bit. So
yeah.
Yeah. Which they might just go wild with the shaking up part, and that gives them a lot more freedom to deal with
well,
stuff.
it was pretty standard knowledge that after the Flash, Batman was supposed to be Michael Keaton. So
Yeah, which they apparently are bringing Ben Affleck back, which
yeah.
I like Ben Affleck. I like Batfleck.
I did too.
I enjoyed
I
I
him.
just
thought he
don't
was a
think he
fine
had.
Batman.
I just don't think
I
he had
also liked
like
him working
super
out. Anyway,
material. But I do
yeah.
think that there's a darkness to Ben Affleck, and I think that's why he works well.
Yeah.
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 Real quick, John Westhoff has joined us. Of course, throwing out the devil horns like usual. Hey, John, good to see you. And John says he would have liked to see the Marvel Annihilation storyline. And I want to go a step further. I'd love to see the Marvel Annihilation storyline, but done by DC. Just take that whole storyline and just adapt it for DC
Yeah.
DC films. Wouldn't that be
Oh,
interesting?
I also have another idea. If I can just get this in, even though it was a terrible crossover, the the impetus behind Millennium, where there were
Yeah.
manhunters that
Yeah.
were embedded into the
Hmm.
lives of these characters, that would be like an awesome crossover.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty
That would
cool.
be awesome.
So
That
you can hate on Millennium all you want. I love that. I have like 5 issues signed by Joe Staton,
okay.
and I think it's some amazing Joe Staton art. I will die on this hill. I think Joe Staton did a fantastic job drawing that.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it may not be the best story, but I'll take Joe Staton any day of the week.
It was not a great
Hey.
story, but it was the concept behind it was
Was cool.
wonderful.
No, it was really
Was
cool.
Mhm.
wonderful. And for as like terrible as some of the tie-ins are, the continuity is airtight.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
worked hard on that.
Yep.
So
So
maybe
I have two. One of which I think would play well as like an overarching thing. Like they couldn't do it in a single film, but it would make sense
Mhm.
for them to do like a quote unquote phase one or phase two. But that's 52. Like you have
Yeah.
Black Adam now. You've opened the door. You can take all of these characters and you can just use it as a segue to do about 4 years worth of films that scope over 52. You just adapt it a little bit, change it up. You focus on those different characters that gets you to a place that they can bring back the big overarching superheroes. So that's
Mm.
like a multi-year plan. It's dark, it's gritty. I think James Gunn would have a badass time with it. I would love to see
Mm.
what James Gunn could do with the Question. I think it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Um, the second one I think could be done in a single thing, and it could be at the end of that and culminate in something else. But that's Tower of Babel. I would love to see Tower of Babel done and done well. I could
Mm.
see that being really, really cool. So, and it would
yeah,
showcase the
it's
fact that
interesting. Yeah,
every
because I do think there's a lot of the JLA Morrison and Wade era stories
yeah,
are
Mm.
widescreen. I think that's a good way of
Yeah.
putting them.
yeah,
So I absolutely see what you're talking about there.
yeah. Well, and like I think we
Mm.
have reached a point to where we take for granted the fact that everybody knows and jokes about, oh, Batman's got a plan for everybody, but like like showing that, like showing why we all take that for granted, like showing why we all believe that and know that, putting that on screen and just driving home the fact that although he is a hero, although that at the end of the day his job is to save lives and to save the world, he kind of is a despicable team member. Like he, you know,
Well,
so and like you can't. He trusts no one, and you can't trust him at the end of the day. And these are people who have to put their lives in his hands. I think that would be really cool, just to showcase just how dark Batman can be. And fuck it, let Robert Pattinson keep being him. So I'm down with it.
yeah. I mean, I think it gives the opportunity, especially if we have multiple actors playing Batman. I mean, you could have
Hmm.
young Batman, Robert Pattinson, and then grizzled older Batman would be Ben Affleck. I mean, maybe they're going to do some interesting things. Obviously, whenever they reveal what they're going to do with it, I'm sure they're going to start also revealing the people that they've locked into some of these roles. I mean, we still have a couple movies that are either filmed, uh, finalized, or ready to go. So we've got the Flash, we've got Blue Beetle is done with is right in the middle of post production. I'm not sure how far along in
Mhm.
post production is. and then of course Aquaman 2. So I mean,
Yeah,
you've
I
got
think
these
the
3 movies
only
that are
one that's in
basically.
pre-production, and then the Flash is filmed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Flash is done, but they're
yeah,
just probably
I
retooling
think
a
the
bit.
only one that's still in pre-production of stuff that was already announced that hasn't been um, changed is the third Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods,
yeah,
obviously, which is coming in
you
February.
got a
So that,
trip. Yeah.
I mean, they're coming. Like these movies are going to be happening next year, and the first
Yeah.
part of 2024. So we know that they've already got stuff, but like the road plan of what's going to
Mm.
come after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really
Yeah.
intrigued. Really
I
And
intrigued.
want to.
just also seeing what he's done in the Suicide Squad and
Yeah.
Peacemaker is he seems to weave it in pretty well. Weave pre-existing concepts in pretty well with
Mhm.
his own shtick. So I think we're in a good place.
I want to. I
He
want to change
weaves it
one of
in
my votes.
without. Oh, sure.
Yeah, give me. Yeah, I actually want. I want Dave Baker's Plastic Man. I want that real bad, real bad.
Oh, Kyle Baker. Okay,
Yeah,
Interesting.
Kyle
Kyle
Baker.
Baker. Sorry. Yeah,
Sorry,
Kyle
sorry.
Baker's Plastic Man.
Plastic
Yeah,
Man. Hmm.
give me that.
I mean, Plastic Man could be. You could make it R-rated, and
I would
it'd
love
be a lot of
the
fun.
team that's doing Harley Quinn to do Plastic Man.
Yes,
I would
absolutely,
absolutely love that.
absolutely.
And I didn't not know this. The Harley Quinn was renewed for a fourth season.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't. That skipped by
I
me.
thought I thought it was renewed at the beginning of this season. That they basically said
Apparently
like,
it
"Oh yeah, we're
was,
all set."
and I just didn't catch
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Well, it's one of those things where especially with all the other news and all the other shows that Warner Brothers Discovery has been kind of like canning and saying like, "Hey, yeah, we'll put this out and it's done." But I mean, Harley Quinn they support. Haven't heard anything about Doom Patrol for the next season or Titans yet for the next season, but
yeah. Or Pennyworth.
might continue with
I
that.
don't think we
Or
have.
Pennyworth, yeah. Pennyworth, I'm worried about because it was kind of like the redheaded stepchild anyway. On Epix, which
It's a
nobody
very
had, and
fringe
then
show, and who knows what the
yeah,
engagement numbers are. Just talking about some current TV, I have to say I watched Stargirl, the last
yeah,
episode that aired, actually last night, and it was the
mhm.
best written episode yet. And there is a big twist. So
Oh,
they
really?
got a lot of cover ground to cover in 1 hour next week, but it was by far the best written episode of the series yet.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm behind on, so I need to catch up to where you are
You know, I
for the
got to catch
finale.
up on
So
Titans. I'm too behind on Titans. Yeah,
Titans, yeah, and of course Willow just started, which has nothing to do with comics, but I like Willow, so I'll watch Willow.
yeah. You have a good time with Willow and Bavmorda.
Water.
we had
Willow.
we had a horrible woman who was a partner in my old law firm, and we used to call first we called her Bavmorda, and then we called her name was Beth, and then we called her Beth Morda.
Beth Morda.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
lovely.
go enjoy your Willow. All right, it was Black Friday,
Hmm.
and that meant Bill went crazy on his geek gets. Like
Hmm.
kind of save up budget for one time of the year to get caught up on some stuff. It meant I could not even touch the Criterion or Arrow sales or Vinegar Syndrome, like those really fringe shit. I couldn't even touch it because I was just like so over budget. But uh, let me show you what I got. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this quick. Um, First the Funkos. After a year wait, I finally got King Shark from the Suicide Squad.
Yay!
Um,
Yay, King
Again,
Shark.
one of those, and I love that they have him with the Bermuda shorts on. Um, so that's from the Suicide Squad. Not as long as a wait, but I got Vigilante from
Oh,
Peacemaker,
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
and then I got through Disney Movie Insider points, but not through Black Friday. I got Ironheart Mach 1, or as I've been calling her, Marguerite. Um,
Marguerite. And I,
Marguerite.
I have I have mine too. I was
Yeah.
surprised how quickly I got mine. I was really worried that you weren't going to get yours anytime soon.
Yeah, it looked
Um,
like it was just, but it also that hit like right before the holiday, so it looks like yours went out, and then I was
yeah,
the next batch. But which could be your last name, then my last name's Z. Um, I've
could
been used
be.
to this my
Well,
entire life. So,
I I love that. I love the design of this
Yeah,
because she's flying, so it is like she is elevated on her pedestal.
yeah.
Um, so she is kind of
And
like in motion.
again, folks, do those reward point stuff. You get stuff like
Yeah.
this. Nothing. This cost me nothing. Now
Take
I got
your save your movie tickets for anything Disney related. Just sign up for Disney Insiders and get
yeah.
it's their
The program is
Wednesdays.
definitely worth it. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Another company that rarely has Black Friday sales had one, and that was Figure Toys Company. So I filled in some gaps in my Remigo. So I got Doctor Fate,
Nice.
Oh,
Remigo of Doctor Fate. I already have Hawk, and now I have Dove.
oh cool. The
And
Gentleman Dove, the
yeah,
original,
the guy Dove, boy Dove.
the dude Dove.
And I got the tuxedo variant of Dr. Hugo Strange.
Oh my
And
I love that they
to,
made that.
to go even more obscure, from Super Friends, the 77 year, I got Rima. So,
I don't
the,
even remember Rima. What
yeah.
was
Well,
Rima?
Rima was unflatteringly, they called them the, what's the term? Oh God, God, can you believe this, Muriel? I've lost my mind. Affirmative action Super Friends, where they started having more diverse characters. And since she was from like the jungles of Argentina, uh, she
Oh,
filled the bill. They also that was when they had Black Vulcan and Apache Chief and Samurai,
oh right.
and
Right.
they were
Okay.
joining in the adventures.
Well,
Um,
those I remember, but I just don't remember Rima at all.
okay, let me do this one. Uh, the comic and collectibles store that's very close by, Dr. Wonders Comics and Collectibles, had a Black Friday sale. Now you know that Superman has Action Comics, Batman has Detective Comics. In the 40s, Wonder Woman had Sensation Comics.
Hmm.
Black Hawk was no exception. And though I have some issues of Black Hawk that were pre DC the quality, I did not have any issues of military or modern. Was later retitled Modern Comics after the war. So I've got my first issue of Modern Comics. This is from 1948. So,
Wow.
That's awesome.
yeah, somewhat objectionable depiction of of an
Yeah, I
Asian
see that
character,
over
but
there. Oh
nothing
boy.
I can do about that. Um, so there you go.
Yay,
Uh,
yay
yeah,
history.
yeah. A big
Hmm.
expenditure though was the DVDs and the 4Ks and Blu-rays.
Yeah.
And I've got three piles here. If you're ready for this, I'll go through them really quick. For DC, I got DC League of Super Pets, Batwoman third and final season, Flash season 8, Superman and Lois second season. From Warner Archive, I got the complete second season of Pennyworth, and I
Oh,
also got the complete first season of Sweet Tooth.
Oh,
And look,
nice.
look at
Very
that,
cool.
neat.
DC.
On
It's
Blu-ray.
it's
Huh.
considered a DC project. No.
Well, yeah.
Got that. I'll put those over there. But Marvel wasn't out of the picture either. And I've got a whole fistful of Marvel here. I've got 4K Black Widow,
Hmm.
4K Shang-Chi, 4K Eternals, 4K Spider-Man No Way Home,
Hmm.
DVD of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Sorry, Blu-ray. Blu-ray of Thor: Love and Thunder. Uh, Going outside of the MCU, Blu-ray of Morbius. I still haven't watched this.
I haven't seen it.
It's
Yep.
Morbin time.
And a
Uh,
Blu-ray of Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Still haven't seen this either. And
that was fun.
Marvel adjacent. I mean, really, like Disney kind of completely took over the property. But I never had a Blu-ray copy of Big Hero 6, and now I do.
Which is
Okay.
one of my favorite
Oh, mine too.
Disney.
Yep.
I wish we had gotten more. I wish we had gotten more of that. I really do. I
Yeah.
adore that film.
I mean,
They've had
there
two
is the
seasons,
series.
a series,
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't.
and now
Oh,
there's
I
and there's a third series of Baymax.
did
Mhm.
not know this.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is all
Yeah.
on Disney, and it's for the most part it's the same voice talent.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have
No,
2
I've got.
seasons of Big Hero 6.
I mean,
Well, that's my Christmas
it's not
break.
as epic. It's
Yeah,
it's not as epic.
it's
It's
a
obviously
little
more
more
TV style, but
towards kids, but
yeah.
it still
I'm
does the tricks.
I'm a kid.
Okay, and then for the
I'm a big
non-comic
kid
book
now.
stuff, worth mentioning, I got a 4K of A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
Ooh.
I got the Blu-ray of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Still need to see
Oh my
that.
god. Have you watched it, Bill?
No, Rob has.
You know,
I was waiting for home video for that.
you want to watch it together?
Yes, I do.
We'll synchronize it. Okay.
And then
You should. You should keep those
Blu-ray, and
lines
this
open
is
because
another
it's an
one I
amazing
haven't seen
movie.
of No Time to Die.
Yep.
I have not seen that.
That I did like a lot. I was not expecting to like it. I was kind of like after Spectre, I was kind of like, okay, this is going to be
Okay,
whatever.
just got a
But
couple
I
more
enjoyed it.
things. Picked up during Aaron's. Caleb knows the backstory to this. A prominent person in EOC picked these up. I had to. They're hysterical. Walmart has the Adventure Force figures and line, and so it's the Beast Riders. It's a shark and a dinosaur on motorcycles.
On little choppas.
You have to get that. So
Aw,
had to get
that's
that. That's
cute.
their discount line. That was only $7. And then
Not
lastly,
bad.
um, this past Black Friday was also Record Store Day second drop. So I did pick
Mhm.
up two things. I did pick up this is a limited edition DVD of Nightclubbing, the birth of punk rock in New York City. There's
Oh,
plenty of resources that document the history of CBGB, but there's really not much documenting the history of the other major club, which was Max's Kansas City.
Hmm.
Now there is. It's okay.
oh,
It was okay. It was all right.
okay.
Okay.
Dang.
And then on vinyl, I got Duran Duran live album from the Hammersmith Odeon in 1982 because the kid's still a new wave kid here.
Yeah, you
Um,
are.
yeah. So those are my geek gets. Lots of them.
That's
Aw,
awesome.
A good week.
cool.
Uh, so I'll jump in next. I've only got two, and they're connected, and it actually Bill segued into it really well because they are both musically based. So I got in the mail two albums, two well loved albums, I should say. They play great. I've played both of them. They sound great, but they come with a little bit of story. So a few years ago, one of my best friends in the world passed away. His name was Jib. His real name was Caleb Shaner, but everybody called him Jib. That was what his dad called him. I like the cut of your jib, JIB. So that was his nickname. So he was Jib. He was an amazing musician. He was in a kind of a Arkansas, Oklahoma, well-known metal band called Vessels of Wrath for a long time. Bill, I think you would really like their stuff. I need to
Mhm.
get you a copy of their albums. But he passed away. He was also an amazing record aficionado, but above everything, he was an amazing father. He loved his daughter to no end. So did not know this, but when he passed away, he left his record collection to a friend, or at least did whatever he needed to do to make sure it got into a friend's hands, and told him like, "Hey, when my daughter gets to a certain age, I want you to sell these, auction them off, do whatever you have to do, and give the money to my daughter." So that friend did his due diligence and did that. One thing that Jib had is a tattoo on his left hand, and it was the thorns from one of my favorite albums, Typo Negative, October Rust. So he had it tattooed on his hands because he loved this band, loved that album. So I now own his copy of that album, and so that's very
Hmm.
near and dear to my heart. So I got this, picked it up for like I didn't pay enough for it. Just flat out, just for the fact that goes to his daughter, I didn't pay enough for it. The second thing I got is a band that I'm not into death metal that much. I do like it. I listen to like bands like Dimmu Borgir. I like black metal, but if you've followed me on social media, like on my Twitter page back when I had Twitter, and even my Instagram page, my handle was at Council of Caleb. Council is in
Mhm.
like a group, not as in like a lawyer being a counselor. But it's now a lawyer being a counselor because graduated law school. But I had that name because Jib, whose real name was Caleb, and I worked together and stayed together in hotels on and off forever. And we would make the joke that we were the Council of Caleb's. So his another band that he really liked was Dark Funeral. And he got this album and it was signed to Caleb and it's signed by most of the band. So I reached out and said, "Hey, I would like to have that. It should go to somebody named Caleb, and I'll hold on to it." So have it, but the Caleb is not me. The Caleb is my buddy Jib. So amazing Swedish black metal. If you're into that really really dark heavy stuff, this is what you want. It's good shit. So check that out. So and that's my geek gets. I just two little sweet.
Cool.
Well, hey, real quick, we've got John Runyon joining us from A Comic Book Look. Hey, John, hot bear holiday season. Yes, John, it is. Which again, I'm still in shock. It's the 1st of December right now when we're streaming, and that just means this is the last month of 2022.
Yep.
Time
Tomorrow's
flies.
my last work
Crazy.
day of the year,
which is also wild.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, what are you going to do with yourself? What are you going to do with yourself for the rest of the
we've
month?
got a lot of projects around the house, and we might take like 1 or 2.
He also just showed us 87 hours of DVDs.
Yeah.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, you got a lot to watch there, and a lot to read, and then of course
so much
next month's DCBS is coming in whenever. So
I literally just DC. I have a short box of DC to read.
Yeah,
full short box of DC.
That is unsurprising to anyone who knows you.
Well, no, it shouldn't, because I usually keep on top of it. But
that's true. That's true.
It just yeah, at least in the floppies.
The flippy floppies.
What was that thing you came up? What was the thing about the with one of my dalliances? Scientist boogie. But what did you say this morning?
Scientist booty? No, what was it? I don't know. I can't remember. It's like science boogie woogie science.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, that has to be memorialized.
Bearded scientist bouncy.
Yeah, bearded scientist bouncy.
Bearded scientist bouncy. Yes.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Awesome.
And Steve's Geek Get is downstairs.
My Geek Get is the same thing that you just showed, so it's the Makariri.
Makariri. All right.
So yeah, I don't see. That's the thing. Like around Black Friday, I usually don't get anything like geeky or fun, because it's all like, oh, there's some stuff on sale.
And there's also, I have to say, this is also the weirdest thing. Both Steve's husband and my partner got gamer chairs, and neither of them are gamers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They both got like amazing gamer chairs that are super comfy and really amazing. It's like they don't play video games.
Yeah. So I also have to mention with the Blu-rays, apart from the 2 that were from the Warner Archive, I didn't spend more than $10 on any of those.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, those DVD sales or the Blu-ray sales that they have at Target and Best Buy.
I thought with the thing with Target and Best Buy, they weren't that great. Walmart's was better, and I'm still waiting on waiting on the DVDs for Lucifer seasons 5 and 6.
Okay.
But I was, just given how much that market is retracted, I thought, maybe they wouldn't be so hot, and I had to do a little bit of hunting, but I was able to do it. So
yeah. Well, I am getting to the point where it's really hard for me to actually get a physical copy of something. Not because it's hard to find, but because it's like,
I don't watch
that,
it,
or can I just get the digital? Yeah. And then if you buy the digital first, and then you have I don't feel good about buying another copy of something if I already have it digitally. So it's getting to that point. Plus, we've already had to purge a lot of stuff, including a lot of Blu-rays. We kept a lot, but again, I don't want to get back into that or accruing more of those. But
I'll be physical media till the day I die.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know when
exactly
something's going to go weird. Imagine being the biggest Felicia Rashad fan in the world, and now there's no access to the Cosby Show or
there you go. Exactly.
Through no fault of her own.
Yep.
Yeah.
So these things happen. But and I always like a sense of ownership, and I also love extras. I love commentary tracks. And Voodoo is okay with including them, but none of the other resources are.
No,
So
no.
no.
Sometimes Microsoft might. They'll have like another version that has all the specials, but they don't advertise it. They don't have them in the store side by side. So
Yeah.
you might buy, and they're the same price. So you might buy the one, the one version, and it's the one version that doesn't have all the extras,
Mhm.
which is very easy. I've done that a couple times before.
See, I'm more inclined to buy when it comes to like DVDs and things. I'm more inclined to buy box sets of entire things. So, for example, like the last big ones I bought, the Phase 1 and 2, which I didn't even buy them. They were gifted to me by my husband, but the Phase 1 and 2 for Marvel, because they come in like the Phase 1 came in like the Tesseract case. The
Yeah.
Phase 2 came in well, I've got it. Hang on just a second. It came in basically the thing that the gem from the Guardians of the Galaxy came in. There's a stand to it that actually holds the DVD, but like it's got it's got the gem inside here and
Yep.
everything. So they haven't come out with
So
the Phase
cool.
3 yet. And I want that, but like the Sons of Anarchy box set, and like I'll buy things like that, but I'm to the point now to where, kind of like Steve said, I don't have I'll buy physical books, and like I'll triple dip. I'll buy comics, I'll buy trades, and I'll buy hardcovers of that. But with
I
DVDs,
never do that.
yeah,
I
with
never
DVDs,
like.
I won't.
You have to put a gun to my head to double dip.
See, I do. I'll double dip,
You
but
have to put a
on
gun
books
to
and
my head to
comics.
double dip.
But I
Some of it
won't.
is space.
Yeah,
Some of it is
Yeah.
space. But like the last one that and this is how long ago it was. The last time I actively double dipped was like Starman and JSA when the trades
Mm.
came out. But
Yeah. Well, I do have.
never
Yeah.
do that. I don't look. That's just me. That's me.
Well, and there are times though where I'll start with like a trade thing, and then they stop selling
yeah.
them, or they change the format, but then they'll have an omnibus version or
Yeah.
whatever, and that's the time that I'll do it. Like what I've got with the Hellboy library collection, which they stopped doing, so I need to do some other ones instead.
Same with
So yeah,
Harrow
But
County. Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing I
yeah.
do have to say though is with Marvel, if they have Epic Collections or Masterworks on sale digitally that are really cheap, like $2,
Yeah.
yeah,
then I will.
right.
'Cause,
Yep.
Which they do quite frequently. I mean, they
no,
do have a lot of
not
good
anymore.
sales. No,
Not
no, they.
anymore.
Oh
No,
well, they used to.
not anymore.
Used to
Right,
have a
it's
lot of
it's
those.
basically down to an annual sale for the
Oh,
truly discounted Masterworks and Epic
that's too
Collections.
bad.
Yeah, and
That's too bad because
there's
I
also
I
like
mean
a
that's how I got.
complimentary sale with Star Wars.
Yeah.
They'll have like one really like deep cut Star Wars, and they're all towards the end of the year. They just had the Epic Collections.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean I remember getting. I think I got like 20 volumes of like Fantastic Four and Black Panther when they had those crazy sales a couple of years ago where you could just load up for like $1, $2, $3, $4. It's just nothing for a 20 issue run or a 25 issue
Yeah.
run. It's great.
The best
That's
sale
bad.
they ever had was they had a golden age sale on Comixology, and the prices were
Mm.
the price of the original comic.
Nice.
So they had Marvel
Everything for
Mystery
a dime.
Comics was like a dime, and it was like
Yeah,
only like for like a 24-hour period. It was
it's
brilliant.
cool.
It was brilliant.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Comixology. It is what it is now, but I mean, they used to make it a lot
No, it
easier
used to be
to
amazing.
to, to buy
It's
some
it's the
great
most
stuff and some obscure stuff.
convoluted platform now for
It's
for
useless.
Yeah,
purchases.
It's
Yeah.
useless.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just sad. It's
Yeah.
sad. It's too bad because it
Right.
was such a major
It
platform
was
for
fun.
comics.
It was fun,
Yeah,
when they would announce the sales. Now they announce the sales and it takes like 10 minutes to
Yeah.
load everything up with its comments. So yeah.
and then you just get bored and move on. You're like, nah, I'm just not gonna wait. Yeah. Well, speaking of comics of the
I think
non-digital
it's time.
variety,
I think it's time. Or possibly
yeah,
digital if that's the way you hit it.
or possibly digital. I mean,
So
if our brother Brian was here, we know he gets the majority of his comics digitally, which great. It's a great way to go because he has it all at hand at any point. Whereas, as I was doing right before, I was frantically trying to find my issue of one of the books I was talking about today because I had put it down somewhere in one of these piles, which was stupid. I was like, man, if I only had it on my iPad, that would be great. But
All right, go ahead,
Cool.
Steve. Tell us about something you're reading that you're digging. As we have entered the
Well,
round table phase.
the roundtable phase of comics. So as I've been talking a lot to these guys, I've been reading a shit ton more horror comics. Like, I've never been a horror comic guy, except for like classic EC stuff. I always had fun
Well,
with those, but
I thought you were a Vertigo kid, though.
well, Vertigo, yes, but Vertigo for me was like, it was very, very specific period of my life. But
Okay.
horror comics, as in
I
like,
don't see how
regularly
Vertigo
buying
isn't
comics,
horror. Yeah,
because mostly what I was reading was Sandman, maybe the
it's
Scarab.
horror.
It is, but
I mean,
that
it's
was
more
like
than horror,
It's
but
when I
it's
was
it's
horror.
younger.
Yeah.
Sandman's
But
goth
it's
horror, though. That's
literary.
different.
Yeah, it's
Like,
literary, very very interesting stuff, very thought provoking. There's some horror elements, a lot of fantasy elements. I mean, it's all in there. But like lately, the past year or so, I've been reading like true horror comics that are from all over the place. Whether it's an indie label, whether it's a something boogity boogie boogie scary. Um, and I've been giving a lot of comics some chances. So like Night of the Ghoul, I've been really loving. I think that's amazing. Francavilla, just so gruesome with the promise of like real terror. But one of the imprints that has been putting out some really great stuff from Vault, who also normally puts out some horror comics, their Nightfall imprint just put out this new the first issue for the new series. There you go. By Cullen Bunn, called Door to Door, Night by Night. Um, so I had no idea. I had never heard of this book. I knew nothing before I picked it up. I was just like, Cullen Bunn, I'm gonna like it. Nightfall, hey, means it's a horror comic. Maybe it'll be really cool. Um, and I was very pleasantly surprised with it. Again, knowing nothing going into this is probably the best way to go into a horror comic usually. And in this one, written by Cullen Bunn, Sally Cantirino is on the art duties, with Dee Conniff and World Design for colorist and letters. Um, Basically, it takes place in the late '80s. So, of course, technology, aesthetics, everything is very late '80s, '87, especially country '87. And it centers around a hitchhiker named Maxine, who is picked up by a ragtag crew of door-to-door salespeople, which I guess was a thing back in the '80s, who are on their way into West Virginia, and basically they sell coupons. It's a very interesting kind of like scheme. They sell coupons for a free 8x12 at at a local photography studio, and part of those proceeds go to supporting the local fire department or local volunteer fire department. Possibly it might be a shady scam. We're not really sure. It seems kind of iffy. But the gang that's there, they're just from all walks of life, and they all just kind of get thrown together as part of this team. And this is how they make money. They go town to town. They live in hotels. They drink all night, and then during the day they go from house to house and sell this coupon for $10. Um, and It just seems like a very strange kind of existence that Maxine has kind of found herself in here. Thing is, Maxine has her own secrets. I mean, all these characters have their own secrets, and it's kind of hinted at like what kind of dark past they're running from or what kind of crazy addiction that they have. But Maxine's a little bit different. She notices some details around town that the other ones don't, especially all these missing posters, missing children posters that are placed all over the place. And late at night, after they've had a long day of going from house to house and selling these coupons, she decides she's going to go off on her own. And what she does is she finds the nest of a hideous demon creature. Because this is not just a normal book. This, of course, is a horror book by Cullen Bunn. So, of course, we've got hideous, child-eating mutant demon creatures from hell that Maxine has decided that it is her mission now to destroy, because she, of course, has been affected by this kind of creature before. Her ragtag gang that she's been thrown into had no idea and are now part of this whole thing. As the book ends, this this group is they're going to be seeing the world a little bit differently as they're going, from town to town selling these coupon books, because the world's not going to let them see themselves or anything else the same way again. And I think it's just a great setup for a book. It's really fun. The art is just perfect, because you feel the bleakness of some of these characters, but you also there's a lot of human details in there. Whether it's lines around the eyes and the wrinkles, and like certain expressions and whatnot. You feel like these people, like you could tell who they are just from a couple lines of dialogue and just what they're wearing and how they look and their reactions to things. And it's just a lot of fun.
Especially if you live in rural America, like not even just the South, but if you live in rural America, these people, right? Like
Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Midwest, what these people, like 1987, like what to expect, and this is what you see. And they did a good job on the research here, or pulled from memory. But no, it's really great. And we're not talking like, experienced demon hunter Maxine here. No. Like these are people who are normal people who are now thrown into something that's wild and crazy. And Maxine may have been there a little bit longer than they have, but I mean, she's no Buffy Summers. Like, she's not running around slicing heads off of things. She's got a pocket knife and really screws things up.
She throws the pocket knife.
Throw me the knife! Oh, it's great. But there's humor in this, because Cullen Bunn does like to throw in some fun gags here and there. But I mean, this is a horror book. This is setting up something where people obviously in the kind of book where you would think people are confronting their own like personal demons. Now they also these broken people who are kind of in a very interesting employment are going to have to figure out what to do now that they know the truth. So it's I'm really excited for the rest of this series. It's a mini, so it should only be about 5 issues, but we'll see how it turns out. And of course, because foreshadowing, I'm sure the lead salesperson is probably a demon himself, because he always seems to sneak off. He doesn't do the after work drinks with everybody, and just kind of disappears every night. So I'm thinking like maybe a monster of some sort. Maybe they'll find it out. But yeah, really excited. Door to Door, Night by Night, by Cullen Bunn and Sally Cantirino. So check it out.
Oh, Bill, you're muted.
Bill is muted.
I was muted. Caleb, tell us about something you're reading that you're digging.
I will. I'm going to go from Vault and Nightfall over to another, arguably, I'm using air quotes for those of you who are listening to the podcast, indie publisher, and that's Boom Studios. And another #1 for a series that I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I don't know if it's a 6-issue or a 12-issue, by another prolific writer that we all know. And that is the new book, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, written by none other than Jason Aaron, art by Alexandre Tefengi. Lee Luridge did the colors, with Nick Dragata and Rico Renzi given some assists to that. This is not necessarily a horror book. This is more of just an apocalypse book, and also maybe just kind of a budding romance book. We don't know. But it's really, really fun. I had a good time with this. I also want to encourage everybody to support Jason Aaron's independent work and his creator-owned stuff, so he'll get the fuck off the Avengers and leave my team alone. So
it's coming though. It's coming though. Thank God it's coming.
Yeah, it's like so support this. Solve my problem. So this book,
love you, Jason. Just don't love this work.
I love Jason Aaron's a lot of Jason Aaron's Marvel stuff. Like, I love his Hulk. So it's just literally the Avengers stuff is the first time I've ever read a Jason Aaron thing and been like, no, stop, just stop everything. But that's it. He's an amazing writer, and by all means a great person. So this book takes place after what we would consider the end of the world, right? Like the global warming has happened, the apocalypse. Not as like there's no demons, there's no meteor. It's just the world went to shit, and like pollution got so bad, the oceans are destroyed. It rains acid. Like, it's the most environmentally unfriendly thing that could happen. That's where we're at. Like, there is just an ocean of trash. And the book opens up in a very poetic way, or I should say, very, very poetically written way. This person, this we learn that she's a woman, but she's rowing a boat through just a wave of garbage. Like it is just plastic icebergs, just it's filth and decay. And she's been on this trek for a little bit now. We don't know. There's a really great point that the book makes. It says that she rows as somebody who knows exactly what it is she's rowing from. So we know that she's running from something, right? We just don't know what. And she is. There are elements of the road in this. Like she's been on there, but she ran out of food like 4 days ago, right? So she's reaching a breaking point. And as if by happenstance, serendipitously, she crosses a little bit of a junk island, and all of these little mutated, transformed scorpion creatures start flooding her boat. And so she's able to like mash them to make, she's going to eat them because she was about to starve. But one of them starts digging into the boat and it makes a hole, and her boat starts filling with trash water and junk and filth, and it's going under. But hey, look, sometimes the universe throws a little wonder or a favor, and she's right at a stepping off point. She's been at the edge of a city that she was rowing towards because she's gonna, she's just running. She doesn't know where she's going, but she reaches this kind of uh, urban decay wasteland, from away from the sea. There's old skyscrapers that have been built up. They're towering over her. So I mean, if you're gonna get a leak in your boat, it's nice to get a leak in your boat somewhere where you can step off onto something dry. And so she happens to do this. And while she's doing this, I should say that she's got like a mask on, like she's like wasteland warriored up. Like there's road warrior spikes coming off her jacket. She's got like the skull thing happening. Google Wasteland Weekend. It's this awesome like Mad Max themed like anti-Burning Man that happens out in the desert in Cali every year. That's what she looks like. It's fucking rad. And so she's getting there, and all of a sudden these tentacles, like this octopi creature, starts attacking her. And she's going for it. She whips out a machete. Like she's not going down like a punk. Like she's gonna chop some tentacles up and have some calamari while she's living life. But this could be the end of her, right? So from there, one of the panels you see a little red line. It's a wire go across that something trips it up, and all of a sudden alarms start blaring. And that's when we meet the other main character of the story. And this guy is he's hard to describe. Like he's a very sheltered person for this type of world. He is possibly a kid, somewhere between like older teenager, young 20s guy who has been holed up in this tower for just ever, and is not really doesn't go outside much, but he happens to have an entire skyscraper to himself. I don't know if he was just loaded before, but like in this skyscraper, he's got like what he calls the quote unquote orchard, which is just vending machines. It's an entire skyscraper floor of vending machines that he just gets to do whatever he wants with. And he is obviously an intelligent guy. Like either he or his parents, who he talks to on a radio but are probably dead, we don't know. They set up like an entire Rube Goldberg-esque in contraption around the skyscraper to alarm them if anything walks up, because there are obviously like mutated wasteland people that come too close from time to time. Like he's got it set up where he fires bowling balls out of a bowling ball cannon and just destroys them. So he's getting ready to unload on whoever our young person is here that he sees getting off and getting attacked by a tentacle creature. At the end of the day, he thinks it's probably better to just get destroyed by bowling balls than it is eaten by a swamp monster. But something happens, and one of the tentacles knocks the mask off, and he sees a young woman who is not far from his age, and obviously young man, been trapped in a tower for a little long. Love blossoms. He's Twitter pated, call it what you want to. He was like, oh shit, this is not so bad. Let me go save this person. So for the first time ever, he opens the door to the skyscraper, to this building, and saves her and gets her in. And that's where we really meet her. We learn that her name is Esmeralda. And she has a patch. Like she doesn't tell him his name, but she's like hardened. She's just like, fuck you, what do you want? Give me food, I'll kill you, I'm mean, arg. But he's just like, yeah, no, like, sure, have some candy here. It's awesome. He's just excited to have a person. Um, as the story goes on, this is a really fun first issue setup, but she's not going to stay there, right? Like, she's going to continue on her journey. And so she kind of packs up. She trades them a homemade jacket, poncho made out of rat fur with little faces on it, like you do. But he's like, no, no, like, I'm just a nice person, and I have this supplies for free. I live in a skyscraper. I've got a river room. Did you see my river room? And so she's just like, never go outside, kid. Like, this, you're not meant for this world. Like, stay here. But she's going to continue on, and she does. She crosses a home, like, she gets together and she leaves, and she is walking down a very abandoned road bridge. Cars are everywhere, and she goes to reach in her bag and she pulls out basically this map tome called the Wasteland Rangers Guidebook that he slipped in there for her. He just had it in his library, and she's like, "Oh, that's cute." Until at the last minute, she hears something behind her, and dude comes out just loaded, like ridiculous pack towering over his head. And he's like, "I'm coming with you. I've got no reason to stay." And she's like, "Shit, here we go." And so we see from that point, it's very begrudgingly going to be a buddy adventure. Um, the book ends though with years later, and you see our boy as a grizzled old man, strapped to a table, and has lived a hard life. I'll just put it that way. I don't want to spoil anything, so go check it out. The art is very cool. It's I actually really liked the art. It reminded me a little bit of the covers to Firepower. I don't know if you guys kind of can see. It's very cartoony. I, I can't really think of a comparator off the top of my head, other than when I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks. It's a little Samney-ish, but that's a bad comparator. But it's just fun. They're not trying. It's cartoony. It's cartoony at the end of the world. So I really dug it. They put in this really cool spread where you get to see kind of the personality in a nutshell. So these are what each of these people would pack as they go on their wasteland adventure. Right? That's just fun. So really dug it. I love apocalyptic adventures. I like buddy stories. I'm curious to see where this goes. It's kind of a classic setup. One of them is just going to be the punchline, but it's going to end up being the grizzled, the hard person. The other one's going to be hard and is going to get soft, and you kind of see where that's going. But I can't wait to see how they get from this to being the version of Mace uh, that we see, because his name is he nicknames himself Mace for short. I can't wait to see how we get to the version of him that's strapped to a table saying "fuck you," go ahead and just do what you want to do because it's the end of the world. Let's go. Um, I'm down for it. This is a really fun Jason Aaron story. Uh, so it's clever, it's witty, and but Boom is doing some really cool stuff. So kudos to them. So go check out Once Upon a Time at the End of the World.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I saw John Runyon interjecting about horror. Just wanted to give you a heads up, John, that last week I also talked about a horror book, which was Dead Mall.
Yep.
So we seem to be covering a lot of
Deadpool.
horror here. I knew
Yeah.
I had a lot of
Just
DC in front of me,
just in
and
time for Christmas.
so
Yeah. All the horror stuff for
I
Christmas.
started off with something that wasn't DC, and luckily, well, I don't know, luckily, but it just give me like all 5 issues of the series have been published at this point. I absolutely love Project Superpowers when it hit with with the original series with written by what was it, Jim Rugg? No, oh god, I can't think of his name. Same guy who did Earth X with Alex Ross, and I just thought that initial series was just a wonderful example of world building. It felt like these were already familiar characters. They're all based on public domain characters, but they woven it into their own story. And one of the key concepts of the original Project Superpowers was that there were heroes in the 1940s during World War II that disappeared, and they ended up in Pandora's box, which was actually an urn, and in doing so, changed the course of history through their absence.
Jim Kruger.
Jim Kruger. Yep, thank you. Rugg, someone very different.
Where-
Yeah. And um, there have been a number of series. One of the characters, Black Terror, had an ongoing for a short period, mostly been miniseries based on Masquerade and the Death-defying Devil, who was originally known as Daredevil, and the Owl, and one based on the villain. So we've had a good number of miniseries since that first series. The latest one is Project Superpowers: Fractured States. I know, Caleb, I know you at least got the first issue. Um, and, with so many covers that Dynamite puts out, God knows if we have any in common.
I read the entire thing just
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then
I
you
only got the first issue because I couldn't find the other four.
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's one of
unfortunate.
those books where with Dynamite, and this is the problem with Dynamite, is like you'll have a store that might order a lot because of the multiple first issue covers, but
Mhm.
then because they continue that trend for every other issue, they
Yeah.
kind of decrease.
This may be an example of a regional difference between us because uh, Dynamite Entertainment is based in Runnymede, which is about an hour south. So there may be a regional difference because I've never had a problem trying to find a Dynamite comic. I may have had trouble trying to find a specific cover. As you said,
Yeah.
they do like hundreds, literally sometimes hundreds of variant covers of a particular issue. But I've never had a problem getting like the base issue. So anyway, where we're at in Fractured States, it actually takes place in the future. It actually takes place in 2056, I think, 2052 or 2056. I'm not going to get slapped on the wrist if I got the specific year wrong. And we encounter this individual who does not know who he is. He knows he has a connection to the heroes. He doesn't know if he was a hero. And through a series of events, he comes to be known as John Doe. And John Doe has superpowers. So he finds himself, and he knows he's time displaced. He finds himself in Florida in, you know, 30 years in the future, which is now known as as the land of zombies or something. And uh, that's just one example of some of the wonderful meta uh, ex- citations in this particular series. It's written by Ron Mars and Andy Lanning. Now, Andy Lanning hasn't been part of a team since he and Dan Abnett had a pretty acrimonious breakup
Yeah.
as a creative team, and I thought they worked together really well. It felt like one unified voice. I don't know what their process was, if if one of the two was writing a particular character, or that they tag team. I don't know what their process was, but it felt like one unified voice, so I was very happy with that. The art is by Emilio Utrera, and it's very Marvel art. It's
Hmm.
very like Marvel current art. So if you are, uh, especially reading some of the team books like Avengers, um, you know, it's not a huge puddle jump from an artistic standpoint. As I said, it's wonderful examples of meta storytelling. Again, the caption, the subtitle of the series is Fractured States, and we're very much there as a country right now. And the issues that we have with um, with so much turbulence between political ideologies and particularly the climate issues. This basically is like the worst that could have happened in this particular terrain. And John Doe finds himself, and you can see them on the characters here. One of the main hero, actually one of I want to say the main hero, but one of the main heroes is Black Terror, and there is a group known as the Black Terror, which has taken the example of the original hero who was able to save a number of people during the initial disengagement of the United States of America into uh, a series of fiefdoms, and inspired these groups to pop up in other regions and basically, do what good they can,
Hmm.
uh, despite some very oppressive regimes. And this one particular character, Bobby, who's right here, really connects with John. And through the 5 issues, uh, we learn about where the United States is at. We learn about um, why John Doe is in the situation that he is, who exactly he is. It's not one of the original heroes, and even though there are patriotic heroes that were part of the Project Superpowers universe, it slowly unravels that he's not one of them, but there is a connection. And in the end, we find out his identity, uh, some of which that he um, crafted himself. And the core of the story that I came away with is America could die. You know the I hate the news term of the grand experiment, but um, given the terrain that we're contending with right now and how divided we are, I think we're at a point in time, probably the most divisive since the Civil War, in terms of in terms of the polar opposite dynamic. And this takes that notion very seriously, and in some ways very lyrically in where they place the core antagonist and this situation, which was a very different situation from the original series. Um, and the only thing that I thought was abrupt was, and Caleb, since you read all of this,
Hmm.
I did feel like it was part of a bigger story, and they thought, well, let's just stop at 5, and if the sales are good, we'll keep going with this. It felt like a very abrupt ending, not necessarily a cliffhanger ending, but almost like the first half.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
it
and
felt to
the
me like,
second act we just haven't seen yet, but you know it's already completely thought out.
yeah, it felt to me like they built a lot of suspense into like the first 4 issues, and then they dumped in the fifth issue, as far as like who who John Doe is, the legacy idea of some of these characters. Like yeah. No, I also thought it was like this. They built up a lot of suspense, very like did a lot of good work, a lot of
Yep.
hard work for like that kind of craft
Yeah.
to build up a lot of suspense in those first couple of issues, and then to just pile it on you in a very very swiftly in that last issue. But I still think it was cohesive, right? Like
Yeah.
I still felt like it was a fun story. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. I still thought it was a complete story
Right.
too. It was just um there was just something felt premature about
Yeah.
how it ended. But like you said, I definitely enjoyed. It has a lot more meat on the bone than a lot of the other
Yeah.
entries since the first 2 series and this. Yeah. So
Huh.
recommend. Yeah.
Well, at least, or recommend the first 4 issues, and then maybe. I mean, that is kind of the thing. I'm sure that they are going to come up with another one because every couple of years there's at least one new Project Superpowers related miniseries. So this is
And some of them are weird, like
probably going to
Hero
be it.
Killers. That was
Yeah.
weird, but I'm
Yeah.
glad it
Yeah.
exists.
Well, I really like the Death Defying Devil miniseries because it was all essentially could have been a fever dream. There was a lot of stuff that was happening that was symbolic. There was
Mhm.
people were dead, people were not dead. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
like the storytelling. I think it
I
was Gail
really like the
Simone. Gail Simone did
Masquerade
that.
series. I thought
Mm,
with a real nothing character for a template, they really fleshed her out and fleshed her family
yeah.
story out. I really enjoyed that one.
I like the series that came right before this one. I forget what the actual moniker was, but it gave you a new American flag. Um, like it kind of unloaded this young woman who was that version
Right.
of it. I thought that was really fun. And one of the things with Dynamite, I appreciated the way you put it. It is a very modern Marvel art, but sometimes Dynamite does not have the best art in it. The art, like the writing in this, was solid. The art was very good. I think they do a good job of like separating themselves from things that I think are parallel type stories, like Freedom Fighters over at DC. They do a really good job saying, "Hey, yeah, we share a lot of DNA with books like Freedom Fighters, but we're not Freedom Fighters.
Yeah,
We are an entire separate thing, even though we come from like uh, the same family tree, so to speak.
yeah,
We have the same
Yeah.
ancestry in some of
yeah,
these characters. We're not that, and so I think they do a really good job of separating themselves. When it's easy to fall in that trap, they could just be another Freedom Fighter story, or vice versa.
yeah.
So
Okay.
Cool.
All right, Steve, tell us about something else you're reading that you're digging.
So I'll try to be as fast as I can on this one because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And some of that could just be the language barrier. I couldn't figure out if this was translated from from Russian originally, or if maybe it was just being written in a very poetic way, because there's a lot of sort of interesting ways of providing information through dialogue or narration that is in dialogue. But the concept itself is absolutely solid, and I just had so much fun reading it and trying to figure out what was going on through most of it. And that is from CEX, Experience Publishing, who I've never heard of before. The book Sparks of Chaos by
Okay,
Timur Shelm.
I
Yeah.
can chime in with that. They're an operation that basically takes things that may have started life as a web comic, or
Hmm.
on.
That makes
I don't
sense.
want to say like, or think maybe like a more correct Alterna um,
Mm,
press. That they cultivate stuff, and actually some comic experience stuff has graduated when it did get to the public, the published version, to labels like IDW and Dark Horse.
that and see
Well,
that the quality of
yeah,
this is actually great. I
it's like
think
think of it as a training ground.
yeah. Oh,
And
I
not
could
just
I could
not just
definitely
for
see that.
writers, not just for writers. They take other elements like the lettering and the
Hmm.
coloring very seriously about
Yep.
who they connect with, who they connect people together with on projects. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was definitely very like I mean from a design standpoint, from a publication standpoint, I mean this book is really well designed, well put together. Um, Definitely a good quality. It is a more costly book, but you also get 48 pages, so it's definitely a a good solid first issue. And as you can tell, sort of the design aesthetic here is very sort of ancient Greek. Um, and obviously, the cover is what kind of drew my eye, primarily for this gentleman right here. And that is the character of Silenus or Silin, who is a satyr and also the son of Hermes. Yes, Greek god Hermes. But he, in current times, presumably it is happening today, the he's a well-known writer who's fallen on hard times. He spends more time drinking than he does writing, and he's been kind of stopped up. The issue is though is he is a demigod, very poorly hidden demigod. When you first are introduced to him, he's taking a piss in a bar bathroom, completely naked, hooves and tail on full view, of two random bar patrons who are like, what are you, some kind of goat man? And then he just kind of like brings his clothes back on, appears to have feet, and he ends up cursing them with his little magic symbols. Um, but he's very much a satyr. He's a an ancient Greek sort of half man, half goat satyr. He tries to pick up one of the barmaids, who it turns out is actually the reincarnation of the poet Sappho, and all sorts of crazy things are happening. In this world, demigods, all the gods from different pantheons are real, mostly hidden from human eyes, but the demigods themselves are there specifically to inspire creativity and push the idea of free will. And in 1968, when most of the Western world was in political upheaval, and in Asia as well. The demigods basically had their big war against the monogod. Let's just say this is a semi sacrilegious kind of text, but I love it. I love the way that it feels very much like it's a European comic. This is a very European style story. You could feel this coming from a Jodorowsky. You could feel this coming from anything in 2000 AD, or even in French or continental comics. But during the war between the monogod and his adherents and the demigods, Dionysus was killed, and Dionysus was the one sort of leading the charge for free will and creativity, and to lead humanity into a better version of itself. He's murdered by Circe herself, who is a slave of the demigod or of the monogod, or one of his big foot soldiers, as well as his former adherents. And so here in the future, the demigods that are left are basically just waiting to turn into wild beasts, to lose their spark of creativity and intelligence and just kind of drift away. But Silenus discovers that the reincarnation of Dionysus is at hand and happens to be the son, the 33-year-old son of Circe herself. And so he kidnaps her, and from then on, it becomes an absolute chaotic mess of ridiculousness. And Timur Shelm he really goes all out in bringing in all sorts of elements from classical mythology, from Norse mythology, Egyptian, etc., and twists them and combines them with a cyberpunk aesthetic. So you have a harpy who's all human woman with a shaved head and metallic wings and feet. The Dionysus, the reincarnated Dionysus, is cut in half during a certain train accident, and he's actually melded onto the cyborg body of Chiron the Centaur. So it is very wild. It is very crazy. A lot of it doesn't make sense, and the dialogue in it is very poetic, very old-fashioned, very interesting. It's crazy, but the art itself, and I do have to say, it's by two different people. So Gleb Melnikov and Alex Malashev are, I guess, more sharing the art duties. And Malashev is himself, who has the majority of the book, really gives me vibes from, and oh my gosh, I've just forgotten, Joe Eisma. So it's very much a Joe Eisma style. If you could picture that, and it works well for this book because a lot of the stuff is very out there and very interesting way of combining these ideas together. But if you want to give it a shot, I recommend it. If you like mythology, Greek, Norse, Egyptian, everything thrown in together and chopped up and mixed up, it's pretty interesting. But you might need to read through it a couple times. Just because it is a little dense and also a little bit confusing. So, but Sparks of Chaos, check it out.
Okay, over to Caleb. Caleb, what's something else you're reading?
So kind of conceptual continuity here. Very, very cool book that also took me a little bit to wrap my brain around, not because of the actual physical language barrier, but more because of the visual language. Not even a barrier, just immersion. And that is the new book, Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise by Trad and Heather Moore. I love Trad Moore. A mix between psychedelia and pop art, and Stoko and manga style, just something. He has a visual voice unlike anything you've ever seen before. And steeped in Ditko, which is perfect for this. Like it's a blend of all of these esoteric things, and I absolutely adore it. I've been a fan of his ever since. Steve and I were talking about this earlier. Fan of his ever since he did Luther Strode with Justin Jordan. That's where I first discovered him, and you can really see him grow as an artist in that book, and tour de force in this. So this book is the first 3 chapters, so to speak, of Tradmore's story, and I think this is going to be a 4-issue run. I'm not. It may be a 6-issue. I'm not real sure. If you've been following Doctor Strange in the other broader Marvel world, you know he's now dead. Doctor Strange wakes up in somewhere, someplace. We don't know what it is. It's a psychic version of the universe. It's we don't know exactly where he is. He's regained consciousness and he starts to remember who he is, but it's all coming back gradually. It's being titrated. And so he is both like all of a sudden he remembers, oh, I'm Stephen Strange, and there was an accident, and like something happened, and oh, my hands, like so you very very quickly get a very abbreviated history of who Doctor Strange is. Really well done. You know really everything you need to know about his history in this in a matter of 4 panels. Tradmore did an excellent job taking that and condensing it. Um, in this first story, when he's waking up and he's kind of remembering who he was, he rounds a corner in this very bright, very colorful, very psychedelic acid trippy space that he's in, and he sees this beautiful tree. Just but around it is this elongated um tiger. Like I don't know, it's like a like just it's arms and its legs and stuff. They're all weird, and it's very it's unnatural. It almost looks like a Chinese dragon, but the tiger version of that, and it's attacking him. It's very angry. It's got a lot of rage. And throughout the first chapter, as he is remembering who he is, and he's remembering that he's Doctor Strange, and he's was the Sorcerer Supreme. He remembers all the foes that he faced and beat. But he also remembers his friends, people like Wong, who were very important to him. And it really is a metaphor for rage and loss. And he realizes in that moment that this thing that he's facing is actually the ghost of a mother who lost her children. And so he's able to use his powers, his mystic abilities, to pacify that in some sense, and move on. Put that ghost at peace, and put himself at peace with his past, and go and find a new place to go. The second chapter plays off that, as you might expect. It goes from figuring out what's going on in the past, what's behind me, and how do I come to a place where I'm at terms with it, so I can move on. To it really takes it breaks down the mechanics and the metaphor of his mystic abilities. The second chapter really is a story about being guided by nature and by chance, which is a great way to describe his powers and his history. He finds the manifestation of a stag, and it's actually a family of deer that he takes, and they lead him through a forest, and he has to, it shows him flipping a coin, and as the coin rolls down, things spin out of it, and it shows a rebirth of life. And that family of deer lead him to a city, and that's where the third chapter kicks in. um it's called a double bladed axe, and as he starts to walk into this, he starts hearing noises, and it looks like a very like French medieval space. I mean, they have all of these row houses lined up, and there are banners flying, and he starts to hear the sounds of combat, the sounds of battle, and he finds what is very gladiatorial type knights, who are going after each other, and there are people and things in cages on wheels like carts, and these things are enslaved and captured, and he sees injustice. He sees injustice in front of him, so his gut instinct is to start using his abilities, and he engages and he fights and he uses magic. And as he's in the middle of this epic, amazing, sprawling, ethereal, otherworldly battle, um, he finds the limitations of his powers because he is a man, and he's a man who's dead, and he just woke up, like he's not his best form, and it kind of overwhelms him and overcomes him, in a sense. And there is it appears to be a woman, kind of in a golden mask, with braids, and she looks at him as he's fighting these gladiatorial things, and just her mere presence throws him off just enough to where he succumbs, and he's bound and gagged and trapped, and apparently sold into some type of servitude in being taken to this place, this island, back to their home, called Saint Nistos. Now, I am not steeped in the history of Doctor Strange, so I don't know if Saint Nistos means anything to anyone else, but issue 2 is going to explore that in the next couple of chapters. I bought this solely off of the power of Tradmore's name alone, and I'm so glad I did. I like this. It's just gorgeous. Like it is so beautiful. The way that he builds a landscape, the way that he builds energy and builds a story, his visual language, the way that he uses his line. Like, he uses his line as a metaphor. Like he does things that no one else in this industry is doing right now. And there are people who try really hard and who do amazing work. Just really is head and shoulders above him. I mean, look at this the battle scene, the double page spread of the third chapter, where it is just sprawling in depth. And I want to give some credit where credit's due. Heather Moore's colors in this complement his style so well. She is very, she's not doing multi shades. She's not going in and trying to show you a bunch of depth here and there. She uses blots, so each section is just a single flat color, but she utilizes it so freaking well, where she will give you multiple shades of yellows, but each of them just encompass their own space. They don't blend together. They are hard lined. Where they stop, and you get the next color. Her palette is impeccable. It sets the tone and the mood of everything. Uh, it is dark, action packed, bloody, gory, and exquisite all at once. So, if you can get your hands on this book, if you haven't, check it out. It's the love child of Kirby and Eastern comics. I don't know how else to put it. It's just like there is just so much kinetic energy in this.
That's funny because Kirby I never associate with Doctor Fate, with Doctor Strange.
No. I don't associate him with the character. I associate like
Yeah,
Kirby and his kinetic style with what Tradmore does.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that like I can see so much
Because
of
I
that
just,
evolution there.
you know, with Ditko's work on Doctor Strange, I mean, I think that's the first injection of psychedelics
Yeah.
into comics. So
So
no,
yeah,
I'm surprised to hear Kirby there. Yeah,
I can actually see it too, but mostly in the style of the colors for sure,
Mhm.
very blocky.
It's New Gods.
But
It looks
but
New Gods of
contrary to Kirby,
Eternals.
contrary to Kirby, there's a lot of curves here. It's very like late '60s, early '70s, rubber soul kind of like
Yeah. Well, and that's the
gangly
disco.
limbs that are very not, it's not at all the blocky, like solid figures of Kirby at all. Just the colors might be kind of bright and whatever. But yeah, no, I do see it. I see it's like, okay, it's this weird sort of, merging of wobbly figures and wobbly, beautiful landscapes.
Of
Because
Ditko and Kirby,
I was
yeah.
I'm looking at some of these pages here and they're just absolutely gorgeous. Um, but yeah, I mean the style is very interesting. Um,
It's
wow,
fluid. The whole
yeah.
the whole thing is fluid. I don't think there's a 90-degree angle in this entire book.
I'm trying to. You know what else? You know what it reminds me of art style. It looks like Eon Flux.
I can
There's
see
some
that.
Eon
Yeah,
Flux in there,
I can see
like
that.
that DNA where hair and just limbs and things are just very much out of proportion, very
Mhm.
strange. But yeah, no, it's beautiful. Huh.
I love it. So I can't wait to see what comes out of this.
I might pick it up. I haven't picked up a Doctor Strange book in 32 years.
Do it. It's worth it.
So
okay, it's down to me. I'm going to be very quick because we're up against the clock now. A couple weeks ago, months ago, I guess at this point, I kind of slammed the Superman War World arc a bit. I think my criticisms were valid, but I don't think in any way that they were a reflection about what I thought of Philip Kennedy Johnson as a writer. I just thought um, it should have been editorial's job to move things along quicker than they did. So that storyline is over, and now we have a new storyline, which is Kal-El returns. So I've gone through the first half. Still waiting on some other books, and it's bouncing back and forth between action, Superman, Son of Kal-El, and a special that came out today. And friend of the show, Cena Grace, has a story in that. Can't
Mhm.
wait to read that. But I can only comment on the first three issues, and though the um, pace is not breakneck, it's far more measured than we had in War World. So I was very happy to see that. Um, criticism that I thought was hysterical though is Steve Beach is doing the art on the action covers, and somebody described him as if Alex Ross's characters were taking a shit. So like, so
Oh
uh,
no!
like once you read that, that's all you can think about. Um, but
He's
uh,
concentrating really hard, really.
that aside, what we have here in the storyline is Superman and his version of the Authority returns to Earth, reunites with all his loved ones, including naturally Lois and John. You have like an abundance of shirtless Clark um, in the space of the two issues of action. I guess that's something brewing there. I don't know. Um, but anyway, he returns, and Warworld returns. It's actually orbiting the It's actually orbiting the Earth, and he addresses the UN General Assembly, saying, "Hey, everybody, just chill out. It's only temporary. I'm going to get everybody back to the planets that they were, that they were removed from. But some people don't have a home to go back to, and we're going to need to take some of these people in." So. It was interesting that it touches on issues of immigration in a sense, but it also touches on his villains. So Metallo figures into this, and Lex Luthor figures into this. But Metallo's kind of like he's beat up at the beginning
Sympathetic
of the
as
story.
hell.
Yeah, yeah, he's beat up at the beginning of the story, and Luthor can't help but be Luthor. And apparently, he knew a lot more about what was going on in War World than we thought. And he also wants to manipulate Metallo into becoming a new type of human or whatever the hell he characterized it as. The two damn kids are with Clark and Lois. I really hope we get rid of them. But they're the kids that followed from Warworld. That were basically like it took the biggest inspiration from Superman, or effectively in Clark and Lois's custody. Um, in the third part, and in the second, we kind of catch up. Um, though I really enjoyed this issue, there's not the second time I'm saying this in this episode. There wasn't a lot of meat on the bone in the Callow. It really felt like a bridge issue, which it pretty much was. But in the third issue, the second issue of Action, with Callow returns. Um, one of the notions of War World was this like incredibly potent power known as Olgan's fire, and Olgan's fire actually exists in the male of the two kids, and I thought this was a beautiful storytelling device. That this power is so dangerous that New Genesis and Apocalypse are on a joint mission to destroy it. Like, so that'll tell you, like, you know how how big the stakes are with that particular thing. But since it embodies that embodiment is in Superman's foster child, that ain't happening. So we have some pretty cool fight scenes
Yeah.
in the middle of this. I'll always love Superman punching Orion. I will always love that, no matter what context it's in. It could be over like eating the last chips in the bowl. I don't care. I always love seeing that. There are backup stories involving Supergirl and Thor-El, who is one of the survivors of Warworld and was the actual uh, first point of contact for Superman, warning about the conditions there. And again with Philip Kennedy Johnson, I was really saddened because he was pulling in some good stories, but it needed some fixing in terms of pace and scope, and I think we have it here. So I was very happy to see that. So, Caleb, sounds like you read a couple.
Yeah, I've read most of them. I'm
Yeah,
really enjoying this. I think they did a great job finding like his return and sinking him back in. And one of my favorite parts was just watching. I say watching, reading him coming back and appreciating what John did, like
yeah,
how John stood in his shoes. Also, and because we are a queer themed podcast, the moments in this book where John comes out because John's been living out like the whole
yeah.
world.
I haven't gotten to that one
Okay,
yet.
so I won't spoil anything. It's a very touching moment. It's a very like I just tear like literally. And I don't. So I'm not one of those people like, oh, I cried when I really like legitimately cried like reading this. Like had a moment. Just it was very touching. So I think they did a great job with it. It's I think I liked his Action Comics run a little bit more. I thought it was neat seeing War World. I thought like I like the Rebellion story. So your criticisms were very valid. Not saying they weren't. I think I just enjoyed it just a little bit more seeing him taken out of it. But this is fun stuff. It's really cool having him back. Ties into I want to say reading this. Go and read the next to the last issue of Wonder Woman because he touches base with the Trinity. Wonder Woman and Batman all get together up in the Watchtower. So that was really cool too. So
cool. No, do you think I'll read that? Yeah.
Oh, I know you will. I didn't know if you already had or not. I wasn't sure where you're at. Very, very cool Saturday morning cartoon type issue. I thought it was great.
Nice. And it's nice that they have moments outside of a Superman title where there's potent moments like that. Because I like that element of the interconnectivity of the universe there.
Hey, Bill, before we stray too far, I have a DC related question that was posed by somebody that you may have heard of, a guy named Mark Wade. He's writing World's Finest right now. Are you reading World's Finest?
Yep.
Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. No, I know, but I still want to. It's good radio. Are you reading? Of course, I'm reading.
I'm reading.
So this new character that they've introduced in the last couple issues, Kid Bang or whatever his name is, like it's Superman's sidekick. Mark posted on his Facebook page that he can't believe that even though he said more than once that this is a character most DC fans are quite familiar with, that no one's guessed who that sidekick grows up to be. So do you have any idea? Do you have any guesses on who it might be?
I do, but I don't want to look like an idiot in case I'm wrong.
Okay.
So
see,
I have a very informed idea. I think I've picked up on the clues, but if I'm wrong, I don't want to.
I wonder if it's one of the Legion folks, but I'm not 100% like I'm not steeped enough in that universe to really know. But it feels like it's probably somebody in the Legion group. But I don't know. Okay. But we'll talk offline. I was just curious.
Interesting.
All right. Well, we're up against it with time, so we're going to start wrapping this show up. And when we wrap an episode of the Comic Book Bears up, we do so with a segment we call the Woofs of the Week segment. In the bear community, if you find a fella attractive, you woof at him. Oh, I like that one. And we do something similar here where we spotlight something which may be a comic book, but it may also be a film or a TV program, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener, or possibly viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your Woof of the Week?
My Woof of the Week is Wednesday on Netflix because it was fantastic. Jenna Ortega as Wednesday. I didn't know what I was going to think, but 5 minutes in, I was hooked on her version of Wednesday. I love Luis Guzman as a much more comics accurate Gomez Adams. And Morticia is played by Catherine Zeta-Jones. I mean, just gorgeous. But I mean, everybody's in this. Gwendolyn Christie, I love her character as the headmaster for the school. It is very much, like an anti-Hogwarts, anti-Harry Potter style series. Just a lot of fun, some fun little twists and turns and surprises. Just really creative and hilarious in many spots. So, kudos to Things, thumbs up to Thing. That I thought was a lot of fun, and just so many little things. If you're a fan of any of the Tim Burton films of the Addams Family, Addams Family Values from several years back, Christina Ricci is in it as a pretty important character. I love the design. I loved everything about it, and I'm so excited that it broke a ton of records. It actually broke Stranger Things season 4 viewership records, and is definitely getting a season 2. So I'm really looking forward to it. Oh yeah, so good. If you're one of the few people who hasn't watched it yet, definitely go and see it. Wednesday.
It might be a long time before I do.
But you're
Oh,
gonna
you'll
like it
watch
when
it.
you
You'll like
do.
it.
Yeah, you're gonna like it when you
Yeah.
do.
I
Yeah,
think I will. I mean,
100%.
I love
Yeah.
the '90s versions. You know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
the second film is like that's about as gay a film as you can get.
Oh, it is, and also it's so infinitely
Family Ties.
quotable. I mean, everything with Deborah, is just it's
Yeah.
brilliant. But yeah, I mean, this Wednesday, definitely is fun to watch and has the same sense of the Christina Ricci Wednesday Adams, who will always be
All right.
my Wednesday. But
Cool.
yeah, I loved it.
All right. Over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your wolf of the week?
So my wolf of the week goes out to I'm gonna pull the charitable initiative card. So today as we are recording this, it's World AIDS Day, which again, gay podcast run by three gay men, four gay men. Mean that this is a day that is important to us all. So my wolf of the week goes out to a local Arkansas group called Engaging Arkansas Communities that does some really amazing work in the community. They provide free testing. They provide everything you can think of. They have support groups for people who have HIV. They do whatever they need to do. They're doing some solid work here in Central Arkansas. I've got some friends who are associated with them, making sure that people have the medicines that they need, making sure people have the testing strips that they need. They talk about sexual openness and sexual health, and it's not demonized. They make sure that folks like they are fighting the stigma, and they're making sure that folks who do get a positive diagnosis realize that hey, you can live with this and you can live a long, happy, and normal life. This is nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to this is a reality that you face. So let's go with it in a positive and healthy light. So doing amazing work to keep people healthy and living and destigmatized here in Arkansas, which ain't easy. So kudos to them. So you can check out their website. It's engagingarkansas.org if you want to look at what they do, look at how they operate, maybe throw them a little Skrilla. That would be awesome. So keep up the good work.
All right. Cool.
Cool.
My wolf of the week goes out to a Poison, a friend of the show, a close personal friend. Chris Cummins recently accepted a position with Archie Comics as their social media manager. He's been effectively working towards this since he was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And uh, in my conversations with him, he's giddy, and I'm giddy for him. So that's the only selection that I could think of this week. It's
Absolutely.
the only one that's
Yeah.
appropriate. So, congrats, Chris. We're very proud of you and very happy for this development in your career. So,
100%. 100%.
all right, this one's wrapped up. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. It's still there. You can find us on the
Yeah.
Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to listen to us, you can do so by downloading us through Apple Podcasts, listening to us through Stitcher Radio, or many of the other podcasting platforms. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you've joined us through Facebook Live, thank you. If you're watching this a little later on YouTube, thank you. Please leave a review because we would greatly appreciate that. And until next time, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
If you're listening to the audio version, you're going to hear Wolf and an Explosion. We'll be back real soon. Take care, everyone.
Wolf.